My sister moved into my apartment while I was on vacation, sold my furniture, donated my clothes, and got rid of the last photo of me and my dead dad. So, I forgot we were family and gave her a taste of consequences. On the last day of my trip to Japan, my mom called and casually asked, "What time should I tell your sister to be out of your apartment by tomorrow?" I held the phone away from my ear. "Mom, what? Hannah, what time tomorrow? She wants to know when she needs to be cleared out. Why is Hannah in my apartment? Don't be like this, Miles. Your father and I agreed she could stay there while you were away. She's been having a hard time. She has her own apartment. She gave it up. She gave up her apartment to move into mine? She needed somewhere. Mom, I land tomorrow at noon. What did Hannah do in my apartment?" My mom got quiet. "She just stayed there with Brett." "Brett moved in too? He's been helping her. Some of your stuff went into storage. Some of it she didn't think you'd miss." "Didn't think I'd miss what?" "Miles, please. We can talk when you get home." I hung up and called my building manager. He confirmed a young woman had presented a key and a note from me 9 days ago. 3 large items had been moved out by a moving company on the 7th day. He said the note had looked official. I tried Hannah from the hotel. She didn't pick up. I tried again from the airport. She didn't pick up. I landed at noon and took a cab straight home. My key didn't turn. The locks had been changed. The manager gave me the new key my sister had left with him to hold. I went upstairs. The first thing I saw was a different couch. Pink, not mine. The bookshelf I had built with my dad before he passed had been shoved into the corner with somebody else's clothes hanging off it. My TV stand was gone. My TV was on the floor against the wall. The walls had been painted lavender. Cardboard boxes with my name stacked in the bedroom. My bed had been replaced with a queen mattress on the floor with sheets I had never seen before. The closet was full of women's clothes and a man's suits. My clothes were not there. The dishes had been replaced. My espresso machine was gone. My coffee table was gone. The framed photo of me and my dad on his last fishing trip, the one that sat on the counter for 3 years, was gone. I tried Hannah one more time. She picked up. "Welcome home. Where is my furniture, Hannah? Some of it sold. Some went to Brett's cousin. Some is in storage. Receipts on the counter. Where is the photo of me and dad? I think that one's in storage. We had to move fast. Mom said you'd understand. You sold my couch. It was old. You needed a new one. Where are my clothes? Mom and I dropped them at the donation place. You donated my clothes. Wardrobe purge. You'll thank me. I'm not going to thank you for anything." My mom called on the other line. I picked up. Hannah just called me crying. "What did you say to her?" "Mom, she sold my furniture. She donated my clothes. She gave away the photo of dad and me. She did what she had to do. You weren't using any of it. I was on vacation." "Exactly. You weren't using it. You have a good job." "She doesn't. She gave up her own apartment to move into mine. She made a smart decision. It's only for a few months. 3 at most. Your father and I agreed it was the right thing, without asking me. You have everything. She has nothing. That's how a real family works. She sold things that aren't hers, Mom. That's not family. That's stealing. Don't use that word about your sister." I hung up before she could finish. Then I sat down on the pink couch that wasn't mine, pulled up the lease on my phone, and read the section my sister and my mother had clearly never bothered to read. I called the property management company. "I need to report 2 unauthorized occupants, and I need to know how fast you can have them removed." The woman confirmed what I already knew. Changed locks without approval. Removed and sold tenant property. She told me formal removal could begin within 72 hours. I said, "Start it tonight." Hannah thought she had 3 months. She had 3 days. My phone started buzzing and didn't stop. Cecilia. On the 4th call I picked up, Hannah just called me in tears. She said, "You're trying to get her thrown out on the street." I called the property management company. "She has 72 hours. Your father would be disgusted with you. He'd never let his son treat his sister like garbage." She picked that word on purpose. She picked the wrong day. Dad would never have let her sell my things without asking. And he definitely wouldn't have lost that photo. That photo is fine. It's in a box somewhere. Stop making everything about yourself. I hung up. I walked into the bedroom and went through the cardboard boxes Hannah had labeled with my name. Old utensils, a broken lamp with the shade crushed on one side, random cables, a pair of headphones with 1 earbud missing, 3 boxes of junk, nothing of real value. And the photo was not in any of them. I picked up the storage receipt sitting on the counter. The unit was rented under Hannah's name, not mine. She had my stuff locked behind her name and I couldn't touch it without going through her. I called Hannah. Brett picked up. "Hey man, she doesn't want to talk to you right now. You really upset her. Put her on the phone, Brett. She's been crying for an hour. You know she's sensitive. You're living in my apartment on my lease. You have 72 hours to leave." Brett laughed, a real laugh, like I told him a joke. "Your mom said we could stay. That's good enough for us." "My mom isn't on the lease." "I am." The laugh stopped. "We'll figure it out." He hung up. I went downstairs to see Dallas, my building manager. He pulled up the entry log and turned the screen so I could see. The date Hannah showed up, 9 days ago. Logged in at 2 in the afternoon. Next to the entry, a scanned image of the note she'd given him. Typed, not handwritten. My name at the bottom, but no signature. Just my typed name. It said I gave full permission for my sister to move in and make any changes she sees fit. She wrote herself a blank check and put my name on it. "I'm sorry, man," Dallas said. "She even had a copy of your ID." "A copy of my ID?" "Yeah, a photocopy." I figured if she had your ID and a note, it was legit. I asked him to print the entry log and the note. Back upstairs, I sat on the floor and spread everything out. The entry log, the typed note, the storage receipt, and I started putting it together. The moving company came on day 7, which means she booked them in advance. You don't get movers same day. She scheduled that before she even had the key. She planned this before I left for Japan. The whole thing was a project. The note, the ID, the movers, the timeline. She gave up her own apartment because she already knew she was taking mine. The storage unit was in her name, so I couldn't get my stuff without her. Our mom was running defense, so I'd feel guilty before I even got angry. Brett was a guard dog answering her phone. 9 days of changes already made, so by the time I walked in, it would feel too late to undo any of it. She thought I'd roll over. She was wrong. I started taking photos. Forged note, entry log, storage receipt, every room, the pink couch, the lavender walls, the boxes of junk. I called the property management company back and asked for the eviction process in writing. The woman said she'd email it within the hour. Hannah had spent 9 days setting this up. I had 72 hours to take it apart. The next morning, I built my case for real. I went room by room with my phone, documenting everything. The painted walls, close-ups so you could see they hadn't taped off the trim, the mattress, the closet still half full of Hannah and Brett's clothes, the boxes of of my stuff shoved into the corner. Then I sat at the counter and wrote a list from memory of everything sold or donated. Leather recliner, couch, TV stand, coffee table, espresso machine, bed frame, dishes, most of my wardrobe, framed photo of me and dad, over 30 items by the time I stopped. Some I could replace, some I couldn't. I walked over to the bookshelf in the corner. Someone had hung a coat rack on the side panel with nails driven straight through the wood, not screws, nails. 4 holes in the side of a bookshelf my dad built by hand. I ran my hand along the wood, oak. Dad had picked it out at a lumberyard and let me help him sand it down. I was 12. On the last day, he carved both our initials into the side with a little tool, T+M. I found the spot. The carving was still there. I could feel the edges of the letters under my fingertip. A deep scratch ran across it like something heavy had been dragged against the wood. The letters were still readable. I stood there for a while touching the carving. Then I opened every drawer looking for anything Hannah might have left. In the back of the 3rd drawer, shoved behind a stack of napkins, I found a receipt from a secondhand shop, dated 5 days after Hannah moved in. 3 items sold as a bundle, 1 leather recliner, 1 wooden TV stand, and 1 framed photograph, miscellaneous. Total at the bottom, $40 for all 3. I read it again. She didn't put the photo in storage. She didn't pack it in a box. She sold the last photo of me and my dad on his final fishing trip to a secondhand shop for $40 as part of a bundle. I called the shop. The clerk said dozens of items came in every day. If it was a basic frame, it had already sold or gotten tossed. I drove there anyway. I went through every bin, every shelf, pulled frames out one by one, landscapes, stock photos, other people's families. I asked to check the back room. He shrugged. I was in there over 2 hours. I found my TV stand sitting on the floor with a $15 price tag. A few aisles over, I found one of my chairs, but no photo, no frame, nothing. The clerk checked his system. Nothing in inventory matching the description. If it was a photo in a basic frame, those move fast or they get tossed. Sorry, man. I sat in my car in the parking lot. The photo was gone. The last image of me and my dad together. He was laughing. I was holding up a tiny fish. The lake was golden behind us. Gone. I called Hannah. You sold the photo of me and dad. A long pause. I didn't know what was in the frame. I just cleared the counter. It sat on that counter for 3 years. You saw it every time you visited. Miles, it was a photo. I'm sorry. You're acting like I burned down your house. You might as well have. Mom is right. You care more about things than people. I care about the one thing I can't replace. And you sold it for $40. She didn't say anything. I hung up. I drove home and opened my laptop. Formal written complaint. Every unauthorized modification. Every item removed. The forged note. The copied ID. The changed locks. I attached every photo. The secondhand shop receipt. Every text from Hannah and Cecilia. I submitted it that night. Hannah and Brett had 48 hours left and didn't know it. The next morning, I woke up on the floor next to the bookshelf because I still couldn't make myself sleep on the mattress. 17 missed calls from Cecilia between midnight and 6. Voicemails. She was sobbing. I called her back. You need to stop this right now. I am begging you as your mother. She forged a note with my name on it. She copied my ID. She sold dad's photo. She made mistakes, Cecilia said. That doesn't mean you throw family out like strangers. Mistakes. Like she accidentally tripped and fell into a 9-day plan to take over my apartment. I took a breath and said something I had never said to my mother before. You chose her, Mom. Every single time. When dad died, I'm the one who handled the funeral, the paperwork, the house, the insurance. Hannah didn't show up for any of it, and you said nothing. You never once asked where she was or why she wasn't helping. You let me carry it because I was the one who always carried it. And now she walks into my home, takes everything I have, sells the last picture of my father, and your response is to tell me to deal with it. I'm done dealing with it. Silence. Then, your father would have wanted you to be the bigger person. Dad would have wanted you to be a fair mother. The line went dead. That evening, I was sitting at the counter eating takeout when I heard the lock turn. Not a knock, just a key sliding in and the deadbolt clicking. Hannah walked in like she still lived there. She sat down on the stool across from me. Her eyes were red. Her jaw was set. I kept something, she said. She held up her phone and turned the screen toward me. It was a photo, taken at an angle, a little blurry, but it was the picture. My dad and me on the boat, both of us smiling. His arm around my shoulder, the lake behind us, gold and blue and wide open. I was holding up that tiny fish with both hands. Dad was laughing. I took this the day I moved the frame, she said. I liked the photo. I just didn't think you'd care this much. I stared at the screen. I'll send it to you, she said. Then she paused. But I need you to call off the eviction. Give me and Brett 3 more months. I looked up. My sister was sitting across from me holding the only remaining image of our dead father and using it as a bargaining chip. And she thought this was fair. She thought this was just smart. Send me the photo, I said. Call off the eviction first. No, her face changed. Then I guess you don't care about the photo as much as you say you do. Send it or don't. Either way, you're out in 48 hours. The complaint is filed. It's done. I watched her run through her options. She could send the photo and lose her leverage. She could delete it to punish me. She could yell. She picked none of them. She stood up, put her phone back in her pocket, and walked out without another word. I texted her one line. Send the photo because it's the right thing to do. If you delete it to punish me, that says everything about you and nothing about me. She read it. No reply. The next morning, the property management company sent the formal notice. 2 unauthorized occupants must vacate within 24 hours. Brett called me. No laugh this time. We just got the notice. You actually went through with it. I told you I would. Hannah is losing it. She's saying she's going to tell your whole family you're dead to her. She can say whatever she wants. She needs to be out by tomorrow. Where are we supposed to go? His voice had changed. He sounded like someone who had just realized the floor was actually moving under his feet. That's not my problem. You had 9 days. You should have used them to find your own place. He hung up. About an hour later, my phone rang again. Cecilia, no crying, cold, flat. I want you to know that what you're doing is something I will never forgive. Not yelling, just stating it like a fact. You let her forge my signature. You helped her donate my clothes. And you expect me to apologize? You have a good job. You can recover. She has nothing. She has nothing because she gave up her own apartment to squat in mine. That was her choice, not mine. A beat of silence. Then she said the thing I think she'd been saving. Your father and I always worried you were cold. I see now we were right. I gripped the edge of the counter. Dad never said that, and you know it. The line went dead. She took my dead father and put words in his mouth to hurt me. He never called me cold. He never would have. That evening I came home with soap and paper towels and could hear noise from inside before I opened the door. The place was chaos. Bags everywhere. Open boxes. Clothes draped over chairs. Hannah was in the bedroom. Brett was in the hallway carrying suitcases. He walked past me without a word. I walked over to the bookshelf and my stomach went still. The initials were gone. Not faded, not bumped. Gone. Someone had taken something sharp and dragged it across the wood in deep, heavy grooves. Back and forth, over and over, until the T+M was nothing but a mess of scratched up wood. You don't accidentally scrape the same 2-inch spot 15 times. This was on purpose. This was the last thing she could take from me, so she took it. Hannah was standing in the doorway of the bedroom with a bag over her shoulder, looking right at me, eyes dry, jaw set. She knew exactly what I'd just found, and she wanted me to know she knew. "You wanted your apartment back," she said. "You got it." I didn't say anything. There was nothing left to say. She turned and picked up another bag. Brett grabbed the last suitcases. They started carrying everything out. Trip after trip. They left the pink couch. They left the mattress. On the last trip, Hannah stopped in the hallway and turned around. "Mom is done with you. I'm done with you. You chose a couch and a photo over your own family. You chose $40 over the last memory of our dad. Don't talk to me about choices." Her mouth opened, then closed. She turned and walked toward the elevator. Brett followed without a look. The elevator doors opened, closed. I stepped back inside and closed the door. The locks were mine. For the first time in 9 days, I was the only person in my home. 3 days went by. I cleaned, scrubbed the walls, hauled the pink couch to the curb, threw out the mattress and the sheets. On the third day, I turned to the bookshelf. I went to the hardware store and bought sandpaper. I started with the fine grit, hoping the letters would still be underneath. The gouges were too deep. Hannah hadn't just scratched the surface. She dug into the wood like she was trying to carve something out of it. I switched to rougher grit. There was nothing left. The T+M was gone. 20 years of that carving sitting in the oak grain, destroyed in 30 seconds with a key. I almost stopped, but something made me keep going. I decided to sand the whole shelf, every panel, take it back to bare wood and start fresh. I started taking it apart. I pulled the shelves out one by one. I unscrewed the back panel. I tipped the frame on its side to get to the bottom, and that's when I saw it. On the underside of the bottom shelf, the piece that sat flush against the floor, the piece no one would ever see unless they took the whole thing apart, there was a carving, smaller than the initials on the side, older looking, the edges a little softer from years of the wood settling. I tilted the panel toward the light. It read, "Dad plus Miles, first build." I held the panel in both hands and read it again. He carved it on the day we finished. I was 12. He must have done it while I was cleaning up. He put it in a spot no one would find unless they loved that bookshelf enough to take it apart, unless they cared enough to look underneath. Hannah never looked underneath. She saw the initials on the side because they were visible and she destroyed them because she could, but she never thought to check the hidden places. She didn't know my dad the way I did. She didn't know that he was the kind of man who left messages in places only the right person would find. I sat on the floor holding the panel against my chest and just breathed. The way he taught me to breathe when I got frustrated during the build. Just breathe, bud. Then I picked up my phone and called Cecilia. She answered on the second ring but didn't say anything. "I need to say something and I need you to listen." Silence. "I loved Dad. I love you. But what happened in this apartment was wrong. Hannah forged my name. She copied my ID. She sold the photo. She scratched out the initials he carved. None of that is okay. And every time I told you what she did, you told me to get over it because I have a good job. That doesn't mean I don't get to have boundaries." A long breath. Then she said, "Your sister needed help. Tired. Not cold like the last time. She needed help. I agree. But she didn't ask. She took. And when I said stop, she took more. And you backed her every time. You told me Dad would be disgusted with me. You said I was cold. You used him against me to protect her. That's the part I can't get past." Her breathing changed. Then she was crying. Not loud. Quiet. "I just wanted my kids to take care of each other. I would have helped her if she'd asked. If she'd called me and said she was struggling, I would have said yes. But she didn't ask. She broke in while I was in another country and dismantled my life." Long silence. Then she said, almost like she was talking to herself, "She told me you'd understand. And you believed her? She's my daughter. I wanted to believe her. I'm your son. You could have called me. One phone call. That's all it would have taken. You could have picked up the phone and said, 'Miles, Hannah is struggling. She wants to stay at your place while you're gone. Is that okay?' One phone call, and none of this would have happened." She didn't answer. I waited. I wasn't going to fill the silence for her. Maybe a full minute. Then she said, "I should have called you." 4 words. She didn't say I'm sorry. She didn't take back the things she said about my dad or the word cold. She just said she should have called me. It wasn't enough, but it was the first honest thing she'd said since this whole thing started. We sat in silence a few more seconds. Then she said she needed to go, and I said okay, and we hung up. That night I put the bookshelf back together, but I changed one thing. The bottom panel with the hidden carving, I turned so the carving faced outward. Dad plus Miles, first build, right there in the open where it belonged. The nail holes were still there. The side panel where the initials used to be was sanded smooth and blank. It wasn't perfect, but it was standing. Around 9, my phone buzzed. A message from Hannah. No text, just an image. I tapped it. The photo. Dad and me on the boat, both of us smiling. His arm around my shoulder. Me holding up that tiny fish. The lake gold and wide behind us. A phone photo of a photo, blurry at the edge of the original frame. It wasn't the original. The original was gone, but it was my dad, and it was me. I saved it. I didn't text back. I set the phone on the counter where the frame used to sit. Screen up. Photo glowing. The door was locked. The shelf stood against the wall. The apartment was quiet.